Before we move on to video effects, we're just going to look at keyframes and how they work, as they're an integral part of video effects. Now, open Premiere. While that's opening, I'm just going to show you a finished version of the keyframe project. A keyframe is just a point in the animation at which settings change. So the very start of the animation, when something appears, that would be a keyframe for something appearing. If things change direction or change colour or opacity or rotation or position on the screen, those things are all keyframes. They're a point at which there's a change on the actual animation. Okay, and I'm going to make a new project and locate my intro to keyframes folder. I'm just going to choose there. Give it a name. Okay. Now double click on Import Media to start. That will take me straight to the project folder where I can locate the assets, of which there are two, rocket.png and background.png. I'm going to import those. They're both still images. So they've both imported in the project browser there. If I double click on one, it will open in the source monitor and I can have a look, and I could top and tail it if I wanted to, but actually it's a still image, so I don't need to do that. So I can just drag it straight onto the timeline. And it's brought it in for a few seconds, I think about 4.5 seconds. I'm going to extend it so that I've got enough time to do a bit of an animation on it. I'm just going to drag that along till I get to about 20 seconds. Doesn't need to be exact. There we go. So there's my background. Obviously nothing's moving on it. It's just a still image. So now I need to fetch the rocket image, which is back over here, and I'm going to left click on that and drag that in on top. I'm just going to extend it so the rocket image also lasts for the entire length of the clip. So straight away we can see that the rocket is far too big for our image. So if I choose it in the timeline and double click, it will come up on the left hand side, and then I can go to Effect Controls, and in here I can look at Scale, and I can just rescale it. I can either scale it by dragging my cursor over the blue writing, or I could type a number directly in. Make that a bit smaller. There we go. Okay, so now my rocket is kind of a better size for my background. Now I want to decide where I'm going to start my rocket, so I want the rocket to curve. If I go back to the effect controls and click on the word motion, actually I could click on the word position and I could position it using the horizontal and vertical number parameters there. But it's easier at this point for me to click on the word motion, and then I can left click and drag it around. I don't want to left click on this circle in the middle. That is the center point, the pivot point, and we'll look at that later. I just want to make sure I've got an area within the box and I can just drag it to where I want to start it. And I still think it's a little bit big, so I'm just going to shrink it down a little bit. There we go. So with the word motion selected, you can scale and position. You can also rotate. So that is my starting point. So at this point, this keyframe on the timeline, this frame, I want the rocket to be in this position at this size and at this angle of rotation. So if I come over here, I can keyframe all those things. I can toggle the animation on, toggle on the position it's in, the scale it's in, and the rotation it's at. And you'll see on the left there, the keyframes have appeared for that position. They're very tiny at the moment. And they're half tucked behind the line, but they are there. Keyframe for position, one for scale, and one for rotation. So I want my rocket to come up to the middle and then down to the end. So if I move on to roughly the middle point, I can come back, choose motion, and move my rocket to where I want it to be at the middle point. And it's automatically put the keyframe in there for me. So if I go back to the beginning and play that, it will just smoothly go up to the point. I'm going to worry about the rotation at the end once I've got the movement in place. Okay, so at that point, there's no more keyframes, it just stops. I'm going to move to the end now. And by the end point, I want the position to be down here. Again, we'll look at the rotation separately. So I've moved it, the keyframe is here, and now when I play, the rocket will move to the middle and then down to the end. So the last thing I want to do to this is just change the angle of rotation when it reaches about here, so that the rocket turns and heads down the other way. So I could do this by keyframing the rotation. If I keyframe too early, it will turn too early. If I keyframe too late, it will turn too late. And if my keyframes are too close together, it will just kind of spin on the spot suddenly, and that will have a weird effect as well. So as it comes up the curve, I want it to start rotating probably about here. If I come over to where my rotation control is and the effect controls, at this point I can just start spinning it. And then if I come over to where I want it to have completely spun by, I can just move it there, and then I can finish the curve. So now we should be able to watch the rocket go up. Curve around and then head down. You can keyframe anything and everything in Premiere. Everything works on keyframes. So once you've got that concept, then everything will just build on that.